Hello everyone, welcome to NextGen AI with Sai YouTube channel. Thanks for watching and subscribing the channel. If you haven't, please subscribe to this channel. So what we are going to see today, we are going to build a real-time app. Okay, this is very important to understand. Not just any kind of agent, it is just not a tutorial, but it's more about we are trying to focus on real-time app. Okay, when I say real-time app, the app which can talk to your backend through FastAPI and your agent, and which will respond back. Okay, so what I'm trying to say that the productionized version of your app. So we will build a front end. Okay, please bear with me my writings and the drawing, but we will not use too much time here. We will directly go and code. So we have front end. This front end we will build using Streamlit app. Then the second is the backend. In backend we will use two component. Okay, when I say two component, one is the API component. That component we will build using FastAPI. Okay, and the second component I can say the agent. So that FastAPI will connect to your agent using the LangGraph. Okay, using the LangGraph, and this way we will have the communication in place. So FastAPI. So okay, again, so here we are going to build a user. Okay, so we will have the user, right? So this is a user which will communicate to this FastAPI. Will ask some question. This ask question will send it to the FastAPI. Then FastAPI will send it to the LangGraph. I mean the agent. Agent will respond back to through this API, and API will send the response to your on UI. Okay, user can check the answer sent by the agent, and will take the further actions. So this is how we are going to build our app. I hope it is pretty clear to you guys what we are going to build today. Okay, now for this, what we require as a requirement, right? So we will require few things and few installations. Okay, it's better I think if I can show you on the screen as we go on. One thing, please, please do with me. If you guys have double screen at your home, okay, keep this video is running in single screen. Keep another screen for your execution or for writing the code. And again, although I'm going to share the GitHub repository of today's code, but don't copy paste it. Please do it, because what we are going to build today is version 1. Okay, or you can say it's a foundation. At least I expect you guys to write the foundational code with your keyboard, and then whatever iteration is going on, definitely you are feel free to use whatever the Copilot or any coding assistant. But why I'm saying you write with your keyboard, with your finger, the reason at least you guys are able to build some kind of intuition. Okay, once you able to understand those intuition, okay, then you are feel free to use any kind of tools. Okay, so this session is going to be longer, but yes, bear with me, do with me, because learning happens slowly. Okay, sure. Now let me minimize this because this is not something we require, but yeah, as and when required I will use this whiteboard. Okay, so as it is easy uh, for me to explain in. Okay, so I have opened the VS Code. If you don't have, please install it. Okay, or if you have any other editor, please use that. Then I have mentioned my name. to this app as a real-time app. Great. So before that, we need to do some preliminary action as a part of setup. Okay. So as we are going to use the Python, so Python is a main language. Based on that, we, we use that language, Python language, for this whole build up. I already explained how the flow will be look like, but let's start it. Okay. So first of all, let's create the virtual environment. So you can open a terminal. If you guys don't know, you can use control and then small icon which is above the tab. Okay. Or if you don't know, you can just go here and say command palette. Okay. And just type terminal. Okay. You can open the new external terminal. Once you click there, here also you can open a terminal. Okay. Now I'll open the let me open the command prompt. Okay. I'm not going to use a chat section, so it's better to close this chat and but let me minimize. Better to take it off. Okay. And let's build the first virtual environment. What is virtual environment? If you guys listening the first time, it's a small isolated environment. Okay. Where we are going to build, where we are going to install our packages, so that as and when we are running the code, and to run this code it requires few packages. For example, as I'm going to build the API, to build those API I require some type of FastAPI classes or functions, and those classes and functions are installed on this virtual environment, right? So for that I'm going to use this virtual environment. Okay, so let's start to create the virtual environment first. So python minus mvnv, the command through which I'm going to create. You can give any name. Let me give the name to my virtual environment is .vnv. Okay, so click enter. Once it is enter, it will create the vnv environment. Are you able to see? So it has created the virtual environment for us. Now once a virtual environment is created, it's taking a bit time depending on how your system is. My system is quite slow nowadays, so it may take some time, but yeah, depending on your system, it will create. Generally it is quick and fast, but as I mentioned, my system nowadays is slow, so it's taking a bit time. So as you can see, it's created. Let me just no, taking time. Anyway, so we are going to install create the virtual environment, and in this virtual environment we are going to install the some packages. So which packages we are going to install? So for that we are going to write those packages in the requirements.txt, right? So what packages we are going to use, so that list you can grab from my GitHub repo that I'm going to where I'm going to upload my code. So let me, for a time being, let me copy. So let me explain again. So this is the API on which we require to build the API UVCon. It's a kind of, you can say, a proxy on which our API server or API code is running, through which we are accessing our API. Streamlit, it's a library which will provide the UI part, right? Request is again a library that will help us to send the request. Okay, so when we are doing when Streamlit, so there are few packages or sub packages you may not use directly, but those are the dependent package you need to install. Okay, so when you send any request to your FastAPI, you require this library. LangGraph, you already know. LangChain, OpenAI. So we will use OpenAI base model, right? So and we are going to use OpenAI key to use our LLM capability. So we will use this LangChain OpenAI. These are some community for vector store. Chroma DB is for where we are store our vector database. I mean, we are creating our knowledge base in vectorized format. For that, we are using the Chroma DB, and then python.env. So we will use some environment variable, for example, OpenAI key, right? This is which is a secret. You cannot store as like, right? Otherwise your key will be visible to everyone, and that's a major security flaws. So we are going to use environment file where we can add our environment key, and we will use this python.env to load our environment. Okay, and then pydantic is for the structural output methodology. So don't worry about these packages. As we when we progress, you will come to know how we are going to use this package, as if we are able to see this first time. So that's great. My virtual environment is ready meanwhile, and I have added all packages which require to complete this uh, real-time app. So let me close this, and to install all this we need to hit the command. Now if you can see guys, as I have created this virtual environment in latest VS Code packages, this is getting activated automatically. But if this is not coming in your when you hit this, you can just go here, right click, and you can just click on this activate dot bat. You just say copy relative package and just hit this and then enter. Once you enter, it will activate this virtual environment for you. So for me it is coming automatically, but in your case you can just go to the wherever VNV is done. You can right click on this, paste it, copy the relative path and paste it, and then hit. It will activate your virtual environment. But note that it is very important you to activate this virtual environment before installation of any package. Now my virtual environment is ready. Let me install the required package. Okay, so my all packages are mentioned in the requirement.txt. I hit pip install -r requirement.txt. Meanwhile, as it is going on, please grab your Open API key. Okay, so let me search my Open API key meanwhile. Okay, so I hope meanwhile these installations will complete. Okay, so installation is completed. As you can see, all my packages has been installed successfully. No error, no issue. I hope same thing for you also. So let's proceed. Meanwhile, as I mentioned, I have created Open API key. If you guys don't know how to create the Open API key, you just Google out. Okay, just mention the Google Open API key. It will help you to complete those settings. So let me just show you. So So here is my app. This is the link platform openai.com API keys I've created just now. This app you can just create new secret key, give the name and create the secret key. It will help you to create this key. Very simple. I will also paste this link so that you can able to access directly without too much searching. Okay, uh, good. Let me add here one more file, that is readme dot markdown file. It should be .md. Okay, now here you can say create open AI API key. The link, this is the website where you can create the open AI API key. Okay, so once you created, then you can just create .env file. Here I have mentioned, right? I'll just give you env example. Definitely I'm not going to share this .env. For that I will write one more file, let's say git ignore. So when I push this code to my repo, okay, uh, this will these are the some of the files or the folder will not push to the repo. Okay, similarly I mentioned .env also, so that these files and folder will not push to my. Okay, these are the git ignore from commit properly. So okay, great. So I have added file in the git ignore so that will not push my repo. Fine. Path, correct. Fine. Nice. Now I think we have completed minimum requirement to start building my app. Fine. Great. Now let's start creating some backend first. So let me create the here new folder. Okay, and I'll give this name as a backend. In the backend, I'm going to create my graph first. Okay, so let me give this file as a graph.py. Fine. Now in this graph.py, I'll do few things. Okay, so I'll say import logging. Okay, so my logs, whatever logs I'm going to add here. So guys, please remember, in productions we require to have the logs to be created, so that once the app is running in production, you can see all these logs, right? It is good for the debugging purpose. I require OS so that I can read environment files properly. Then from typing, I import some data type, for example optional, then dictionary, then any, and then list. Fine. And as I mentioned, I already installed the package, so from .env I import the log.env. Okay, great. Now I also need to import something called type dict. Okay, so something I need to so import from. Okay, few things from LangGraph, as I already installed. Graph should be small. LangGraph dot graph, and you import few things is get graph, get graph. Then from LangChain, I need my OpenAI, OpenAI, right? From the LangChain's OpenAI import, I'm going to use the model called chat OpenAI, and I'm the embedding of OpenAI embedding. Okay, so for this I'm going to use OpenAI embedding. Great. Then I'll use Chroma. So from LangChain is also offer this package. So let's say LangChain underscore community dot vector stores import Chroma. Great. Now all the required packages has installed. So let me say load.env, and as I already I need to initiate the logger also. So I say get logger. Logger is equal to login.getLogger underscore name. Okay, and I need to set this logger level as a not debug as a info. Okay, so whatever informations I'm giving here as a part of information, okay, not as a debug. So I'm setting this level as a okay. So please remember, let me explain this thing, guys. Some of you already aware, but just for as someone watching this first time, let me explain one about the logger. Okay, so generally logging hierarchy is happen this way. So there are some, these are the severity. One is the critical, then we have error, then we have warning, or you can say warn, and then we have info, and the last is the debug. Okay, and then we have trace. Okay, trace hardly used, but people mostly use info and debug. So when I set the logger as a info, so anything above info will consider. Okay, so it will process the log message with severity level of info and higher, while the message with the lower severity, that is debug and the trace, will be lower, right? So whatever message with the info, warning, error, critical will all be shown at the output. Okay, but the debug and trace is not shown. So you can select which you want, but generally in production people prefer the info. Okay, sometimes also they prefer debug, because this is also one of the very good option, so that you can take the debug. You can debug your code if any error comes. Okay, so now we already done few things. We have set the logger. Now let's start. The first is the model initialize. Okay, so I say model initialization. We haven't initialized our model yet, so I say open AI API key. I already set in my environment variable, so I just say os dot get env. Okay, right? So now I am fine. So I have set my open API key, right? You can set this also. If not, if there is no open API set, you can get that not set in the environment variable. So let me just say tab, right? Great. Now let me initialize my, so I say chat. I'm using chat OpenAI model, right? So I'll say this chat OpenAI model, right? API key is my open API, right? Now let me set properly. Instead of GPT-4, I'm going to use model as equal to the temperature, the new time. Okay, now this I can say directly, but for example, if you are setting up any LLM model in your environment file, so this is a very good way. You are saying select the LLM model from my environment variable. If you don't get that environment variable model from this environment variable, you can say GPT 4o underscore mini. So this is a default model if you don't find anything. As of now, I haven't set anything, so let me keep it as it is. Then I'm saying temperature. So temperature, you can also set this temperature in your environment variable, as this is a good thing to parameterize instead of hard-coded value here. Okay, so I say LLM temperature. Okay, and default temperature I'm setting. If no value they are getting from environment variable, I can say 0 dot. Okay, and API key is open API key. If they are not getting any open API key, you can say fine. So this is a good way to deal with the production stuff. Please remember, follow this practice. Now I have completed my model initialization. Let me do that is very important, that is vector store. Why I'm going to use vector store? This is for rack setup. Now if you are not aware for rack setup, please watch my previous video. What is rack? I have explained in very detail, in very detailed way. Okay, so please, if you still have any doubt, please let me know in comment section. I'll help you guys to with one more video. Now I'm saying vector. Okay, before that vector, let me set embedding model. So I say embedding model equal to, I'm using open AI embedding model for this. Okay, not coming. come open embeddings. Fine. Then API key, I'm going to use the same API key for this. Okay, and my API key will be the open API key or none. That's fine, not an issue. Fine. Now I have set, and then I'll say vector store. Second. Now we need to set our vector DB directory. Okay, so I'm saying that let's store vector DB directory, and for this I am again from OS environment. Okay, if they don't find any specific directory that I mentioned environment variable, I run this as a Chroma underscore DB. So I'm going to store wherever this code is running in the Chroma DB. Right now, let me initialize the vector store. Okay, so vector store I'm going to use Chroma. Okay, and in the Chroma I mentioned something called as a persistent directory. Okay, so persistent directory will be my vector DB directory and embedding. Okay, and the embedding function I'm going to use the embedding. Okay, should not be mode, it should be model. Okay, so we write should be embedding model, right? So my vector DB also got initialized. Now let me initialize the retrieval. Okay, because some of the information that is storing in the vector DB, we also create one placeholder how we are going to retrieve, right? So we have vector store in which there is a function called as a retriever, and what would be my retrieval logic? So I say search, let me initialize search box, and I mention the k is equal to t. So whenever I hit any query, it goes to vector store, right? OpenAI, but vector store, and it retrieve the first three relevant data from my vector store, okay, which is relevant to my query. Now I have initialized vector store. So let's you guys with me. So we have initialized the model, we have initialized the vector store, and now we are going to do the state definition of my LangGraph. So state definition, I mean what are the inputs, what are the uh, informations which we want my all nodes and my uh, all my edges must be aware about that. Okay, so we are going to write in the state. So valid, first let me say valid intents. Okay, because our bot is going to answer on specific topics, right? So we need to use some intents. So the first intent, that is something called is billing. Then there might be some questions related to the technical, right? Then there might be some questions related to account, and there might be a general questions also. So on these intents my bot is going to answer. Fine. Similarly, let me initialize a class, say chat state, okay, which is accepting the class. So it's an override, we are overriding some class from type dict, and the total is equal to false. Fine. Now what we are going to store here, sometimes AI is unwanted means, here we are going to store the message is in the string format, string type. Then intent, okay, so intent Okay, second we are storing in the state, that is the intent, but it's a optional, right? Optional is type of data type string. Then we are going to store here in the state, that is the context, and this is we are also keeping as the optional. Okay, in the string format. Then we are going to store the response, which is also in the optional format, right? So please remember, if you are building anything as such, not a chatbot or anything program, so you have to keep all the information that you want all my nodes must be aware about. You know, you always add those variables or those information in the chat state. Okay, you can give any name, that is doesn't matter, but this should be part of your object. Okay, so it will create the object and this object has this information. Great. Now third, we already create the state. Now we want to extract the text safely, right, from LLM result. So LLM is giving some output, so we want to, so LLM is giving output in some format and we wanted to extract, you know, those text from the LLM. So for that we are writing uh, some function that is called as a extract text. Okay, so which is a uh, private function we are writing here, extract text from result. I hope you guys also doing with me. Not, then please do with me, I encourage. Okay, this will help you to understand as well. Okay, so return type in the string format, so extract text from the result. Okay, the result, it can be any type of data we are getting, and but return should be string. So if my result is none, right, then it will return the blank. Okay, if it has attribute, okay, and the result has content, okay, then it should return the result dot content, right? If doesn't has content, okay, then it should create none and it should strip the spaces, whatever the spaces before and after the text, it should strip it. If this has, if it has attribute, if result has attribute of text, it should return the text, right, and strip. Understood? Now try what we want to try, the result dot dictionary. Okay, store the result, whatever the result which has a dictionary input, store into the D, and if is instance, if is instance is of D of type dictionary, then it should return the content, because please remember the LLM is storing the result in the content. Okay, so it will return the d dot get content or d dot get text or blank and then strip. Okay, so in dictionary it has this key value except exception as. Okay, so if there is a exception, right, then we are saying just pass it. Okay, need to, now we are not doing identification error, and then return what we want to return. We want to return result dot strip. Okay, I hope you guys with me. So this is the functions we have written for extract the text from LLM. Now how we are going to invoke the LLM? For this we are writing the async method, asynchronization method. Okay, so that there is no wait. So I say LLM AI a invoke method underscore save. Okay, which will get some prompt. from this type of string, and we are returning the method in string format. Okay, so we are writing this and we are saying if has attribute. Okay, so if LLM has attribute AI invoke, so I'll explain. There are generally three methods the LangChain use to get the response from LLM. So let's say if LLM has attribute the AI invoke, so we are saying that my result is equal to await of LLM A invoke. A invoke I mean asynchronous invoke. So LangChain supports both. One is a synchronous, right? Another is the asynchronous. So asynchronous, it will say that till my LLM responding your response, let other function run as it is. So result is equal to we are saying, and then we are returning the extract from result. So you remember, right? We define the method how my text, how my output extracted from my LLM response. So this is where we are extracting our response from the result. So we are passing this result to this function, right? And if there is any error, okay, let's say exception, right? Then we are saying should give logger dot exception, okay, and it will say method that AI invoke fail, okay, AI invoke fail. So this will come fine. Now we have defined async. Similarly, let's define another method of that LLM can use. One is the if has attribute LLM a predict. Okay, so asynchronous prediction. So what is the difference between the AI invoke and a predict? So you can consider both are almost same, but the AI invoke is a kind of a modern method, okay, supported the runnable functionality of LangChain. So when I say runnable, so it has, if you remember in LangChain we have runnable methodology which supports chains, which supports agent, which supports models. All these are runnable methodology is already available in LangChain. To support those methodology we are using AI invoke. However, AI predict is the something is the legacy method that before the LangChain come up with the runnable methodology, they are using predict functionality, which is a general or which is a legacy method, okay, for getting the simple prediction from LLM. Okay, it's just simple prediction. Okay, so this is an old methodology, but now it supports the runnable method. So let's write the function to try. So let me use the generated. So await LLM, we are passing that prompt to the predict function, and then if it is the result, right? If we are getting the results, so we say if is instance my result of type string, right? Then I would say return strip. So we are, if it is not a type of string, then we are passing to the extract text from the result. Okay, if it is there is an exception, then it will say a predict fail. Great. Similarly, there is another um, attribute that LLM has that is called as a invoke. Okay, so what is invoke is a same like a AI invoke, but is a synchronized method. Okay, synchronous way to deal with the prediction. Again, I'm saying try result is equal to LLM dot invoke. We are passing prompt and we are passing the result to our extract text from result method. Then we are saying except exception and then logger invoke fail, right? Now if nothing is of type, Okay, it is not type of attribute, is not type of a predict or invoke or a invoke. We are just passing the output as a. Great guys, so till now we have defined three parts. Okay, so async dim, okay, asynchronize of. So why this error unintended amount? One second. So yes, go this way. Now we have done state definition. We have done text. How we can extract the text from LLM, and how we can pass input to LLM. There are three different methods. Now let's go to the next, that is called as a intent classification. So now we have done all the necessary steps that require to process the input or extract the input, right? Now actual game start. Let's define our node one by one. So our first node will be the intent classification. Okay, so whatever input we are passing to our first node, it's responsibility to define the understand the intent. Okay, so we are saying async f intent node. Let me specify the node as an intent node, right? And we are saying my state, the chat state. So it taking the input of the chat state, and the response is of a dictionary. Okay, list of dictionary, which is a which include the string. Okay, so we are taking dictionary of list of dictionary. Okay, which, sorry, list of string. Okay, so let me type r small s here. Okay, and we are saying my message equal to state dot get message. So we are getting those message from our state. Okay, as we are, this is the input to our intent node. Okay, from my intent. So if you remember, in chat state we define three variable. One is a message, intent, context, and response. So from that we are trying to get the message first. Okay, and if no message, then there is a line. Okay, empty. Then we are streamed. If not message, if there is no message, right, then it will raise the error. Okay, what error? It will raise the value error. Okay, what value error it is saying? We will say empty message received in intent node. So there is a no message in our intent node, and we are saying, then here we are going to write our prompt. So what prompt we are going to use? We are going to use this prompt. Let me say this is the prompt. Your intent classifier for our SaaS support, that is software as a service support system. Classify the user message into exactly one of the things: the billing, technical, account, or general, and return only single word category. So user message. So how we are going to say? So this is the format: user message, whatever message we are receiving, and in the new line we are saying what will be the category. Correct. Now then next we have intent, whatever intent. Then we are passing this to our LLM AI invoke shape. So we already written this method where we are passing, and then we get the intent, and then whatever intent we are getting, we are storing into the. Okay, so let me first say this is a raw. Okay, so we are passing the prompt, we are getting, or we are storing the raw, and then in the raw we are converting the into the lower and get to the intent. If intent is not a valid intent, then we are saying my intent is a general, and then returning the message. So we are storing this into the state. So whatever message we are storing in the state message, and intent into the intent. So whatever result we are getting, we always keep in the return. So just let's don't want message to be written. Let's return the intent. The output of this node is the intent, nothing else. Now I want to add the info here. Okay, what info I'm going to add? Info I'm going to add that intent classified s and then intent. Okay, and then we are writing the intent. So this is the node we have defined. Let's define the node 2. Okay, so in the node 2 we are saying retrieval track. Okay, now what is the second node? So first node identify the intent. In next node I want to retrieve the information. So I say retrieve the information from what? Vector database. So retrieve node state chat state, right? So we are passing the input to state, which is a type of chat state. Sorry. Okay. So let me use this again. Dictionary of return types string. Then we are saying message. Pass this. So we are saying message state of message if format. If not, then if message is not there, right, then return the not message. Then what we are going to say, return what we are returning. We are returning the context as a is empty. Fine. Remember, we always return in the dictionary type. Okay, because our return is a dictionary. Okay, so please note that. Otherwise, it will throw the error. Okay. Now let's say if there is a no message, right? Now if I get the message, I will say try. We already defined the retriever earlier, right? So we are saying retriever dot get relevant document of my message and context chunks. Okay, so whatever my context chunks, the type of list or dictionary, okay, of type of string format. Okay, my list contain all string. So let me use this comprehensive methodology. Docs. Inside my docs I have my page content. Okay, in the page content, okay, I want to find for doc in a docs, I want to retrieve the page content. Okay, now my context, okay, my context will be the new line. Okay, and I want to join the context chunk. So whatever the I'm finding the page content, I want to pass this as into in the context. So I'm just joining that context chunks. Great, very nice. And I will let me add the logger info. Okay, what info I'm adding? The retrieve. Okay, I have retrieved the context documents. Okay, of length. So I'm passing the how many documents I retrieve, that I have to pass. So length of the context chunks, that many documents we have retrieved. Fine, and then I'm going to return the context. So key will be my context and the result will be the context, so that is storing here. Fine, nice. If it doesn't work, then I have to write the except. Sometime it comes exception and the logger dot exception, say retrieval fail, fine, and then after retrieval fail it will return text as a if there is any exception. So this is my node tool, which is work act like as a retrieval. Okay, so my node 1 intent classifier, my node 2 is a retrieval. Now let me specify node 3. So my node 3 is a response generation. Okay, so I want my response to be generated as based on the